Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I might want to talk a little bit about one of the reasons we need to take a closer look at the funding of Planned Parenthood, not just as a result of these videos, but as a result of some financial issues that are coming up. As president of Planned Parenthood, you're aware, of course, that Planned Parenthood of the Gulf Coast, that's the Houston area, Planned Parenthood last year paid a $4.3 million settlement for false claims made to Medicaid and the Texas Women's Health Care Program. Is that not correct?
That's correct.
And you're also aware that the Obama administration's Department of Justice contended that Planned Parenthood had submitted false claims against the Women's Health Program.
I'm not aware of that. I do know that we've been the target of the same group that has filed many, many, many lawsuits, and that's the one area I know that was settled in order for the...
Well, let me read a little bit from the settlement. It's the United States contends that Planned Parenthood of the Gulf Coast submitted false claims and made false statements to the United States in conjunction with claims submitted to the United States. And just, Mr. Chairman, without objection, I would like to have this settlement agreement entered into the record.
Without objection, so ordered.
All right, so as a consequence, Planned Parenthood paid $4.3 million to settle those claims just 2 years ago. Are you aware that this spring another audit by HHS Office of the Inspector General concluded that Planned Parenthood had overbilled taxpayers another $128,028 under Medicaid and the Texas Women's Health Program?
I'm not aware of what you're referring to. I'm happy to look at it.
Thank you. And are you aware that the Planned Parenthood affiliate in El Paso just a few years before had failed to reimburse its subcontractors for roughly $500,000 in claims?
I'm not aware of that, and that organization doesn't exist and hasn't for years, but I'm happy to look at your
And actually,
report.
that is another issue I would like to bring up. One of the things that we're talking about today is taking some of the money that's going to Planned Parenthood and sending it to community health centers. Do you know how many facilities in Texas you have?
I don't, but I can certainly, actually, bear with me 1 minute. I'll just make sure I give you the right number. Now, this may be, I know we just opened one in Plano, so I think we have 38 health centers.
And they're
now maybe 39 now.
And so we've got 732 community health centers. Admittedly, some of those focus on pediatrics or men's health care or other specialties. But wouldn't you admit there's substantially more facilities, federally qualified facilities that offer women's health care than there are Planned Parenthood facilities in Texas?
Well, actually, I think, Congressman, one of the big problems in Texas is there has actually been a drop in access to women for health care, and particularly after Planned Parenthood was, for political reasons, I believe, taken out of the women's health program. We had a 25% drop in women's access to basic preventive care, and particularly in some areas like the Rio Grande border that are vastly underserved.
I think you'll have 3 or 4 facilities down in the Rio Grande Valley, if I'm not mistaken. I also promised to ask you a couple of questions that some constituents and folks on social media asked me to ask, so I'd like to use my last minute and a half to do that. Lauren wanted me to ask you what efforts and what steps does Planned Parenthood take to guarantee their providers follow state laws requiring reporting of child sex abuse?
We have very rigorous standards. We apply, the health and well-being of our patients is our #1 concern, and we certainly comply with all state and federal laws, and if there's ever an issue, we take swift action.
Okay. And that Peg and Allison both expressed a concern about the same thing the chairman did when he began this questioning about the activities of the 501c4 organization that Planned Parenthood has helped fund. You've helped manage, and funds have been transferred into for lobbying in almost exclusively Democrat political campaigns. One of my concerns is with your purported goal of making access to women's health care more available, isn't the money that you are diverting to lobbying effort and politics money that could better be spent actually delivering health care to women?
Well, Congressman, as you know, in the state of Texas, the number of laws that the state legislature has passed to try to restrict women's access to almost every kind of health care requires not only the Planned Parenthood Action Fund, but other organizations to lobby extensively to try to protect particularly low-income women.
One more. As you also spoke earlier about how you have doctors that are providing women's health care, and those doctors are funded by the taxpayer money under Title X or other reimbursements. Are some of those doctors also providing abortion? Would you be able to afford to have those doctors and keep them entirely busy but for the federal funds coming in?
I'm not sure exactly. That's a kind of long, complicated question, so I want to be responsive. Obviously, federal funds, the most important thing, I think, out of all of that is federal funds do not pay for abortions at all, except in very limited circumstances of when the woman has been raped, has been the victim of incest, or when her life is endangered.
And I would contend, even though not directly spent, they help facilitate it, and that's one of the reasons I support defunding. I see I'm out of time. I appreciate it.